When should a kid start school? It sounds like such a simple question, right? But it turns out the answer is one of the most complex puzzles that countries all over the world are trying to solve. So let's dive in, because how a nation answers this question, well, it reveals a whole lot about its values, its goals, and its vision for the future.
So I'm going to ask you straight up, what do you think is the perfect age for a child to walk into a classroom for the first time? Is it 5, 6, maybe 7? Well, as we're about to find out, there's no single right answer. Here in Malaysia, the current answer to that very complex question is this number right here, 7. But why 7? What's the thinking behind that specific age? And how does it stack up against what the rest of the world is doing? That's exactly what we're going to unpack. So let's start right there with Malaysia's policy. Because honestly, understanding the why behind their choice of age 7 is really the key to unlocking this entire global debate. Okay, so the official rule is that compulsory education starts at 7. But here's the most important word, flexibility. The policy isn't totally rigid. Younger kids who can show they're ready for it can actually start earlier, which makes a lot of sense because not all kids develop at the exact same pace. And the age 7 wasn't just picked out of a hat. It's a really deliberate choice, and it's based on some pretty solid principles. The biggest one is developmental readiness. This idea that at 7, children are just better prepared cognitively and emotionally for a formal classroom. The policy also respects the super important role that parents play. It's really a balancing act between readiness and access. Okay, so with Malaysia as our starting point, let's zoom out. We're going to go on a quick world tour to see how other countries are tackling this exact same puzzle. And you are about to see just how different the solutions can be. Take a look at Turkey. They lowered the age to 5. But the main reason wasn't just about education, it was about economics. It basically acted as a childcare subsidy to help more women get into the workforce. Now compare that to England, where they offer a lot of flexibility. Their focus is squarely on a parent's right to choose. So you see, two very different ages, and they're driven by completely different national priorities.
And the thinking goes even deeper than that. In Germany, a lot of the debate is about the immediate school journey, how starting age affects a student's motivation right now. But then you go to Norway, and they'd link the school starting age to huge long-term life outcomes, like when people eventually start a family. It just shows you this decision isn't just about first grade. It can send ripples through an entire life.
In that idea of partnering with parents, well, it turns out that's crucial everywhere. In Zimbabwe, for instance, when the government tried to change enrollment policies, it created a lot of friction with families. It just highlights a critical point. For any policy like this to actually work, you need buy-in from the community. So as you can probably see by now, every country is essentially working with the same set of puzzle pieces. They're just arranging them in very different ways based on their own unique situation. So let's take a closer look at what those core pieces actually are. These are really the core factors every policymaker has to juggle. You've got the child's readiness, the parent's role, and the country's economic goals, like we saw in Turkey. But there are a couple more big ones. Is the school system itself, the teachers, the curriculum, actually ready for younger kids? And in the world we live in today, how do things like digital learning change the game? It's a really complex balancing act. Let's just pause on this term for a second, school readiness, because it's at the heart of everything. This isn't just about knowing your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. No, it's about a child's total preparedness, their ability to handle their emotions, to play with other kids, and to actually engage with learning in a classroom. It's a whole child point of view. And this quote just absolutely nails it. You can't just change the number on the door and expect everything to be fine. If you lower the starting age, the entire system has to adapt with it. The curriculum needs to be more play-based, and the teachers need the right training to handle the unique needs of younger kids. Without that, the policy is pretty much set up to fail. So, after a little trip around this global puzzle, what are the key lessons we can take away? What does all this mean for the future of the school starting age debate, whether it's in Malaysia or anywhere else? It really boils down to 3 crucial takeaways. First, there is no single magic number. The right age for one country might not be the right age for another, because their goals are totally different. Second, partnership is power. Policies are just so much stronger when schools and families are working together on the same team. And finally, maybe the most important lesson, you have to reform the entire system, not just the rule on the books. The support structure has to be there. And all of that leaves us with this one final thought. Maybe
we've been asking the wrong question all along. Maybe the debate shouldn't be about finding the one perfect number. Maybe it should be about building a flexible, supportive, and ready education system that can meet every single child right where they are whenever they arrive.